For 3 weeks, from June 22nd to July 10th, Port Charles will be engulfed in a series of intrigues, chases, and exposed secrets. Start with a strange moment that happened recently. Cassius knows his time is up. His fake identity is crumbling around him, and the authorities are closing in on every side. Yet, instead of running into the night, instead of catching the first flight out of the country to save his own skin, he chooses to stay for a simple trip to the batting cages with James. Something about that moment stayed with me. It is such a quiet, almost unremarkable choice in the grand scheme of international espionage and hostage situations, but it carries a massive emotional weight. Here is a man who has lived a complete lie, a man who has deceived everyone he cares about, risking an eternity in a cold prison cell just to hit a few baseballs with a little boy. At first, it didn't seem important. Just a desperate man clinging to a stolen life. But it is the anchor point of everything that is about to unfold. The more I think about it, the more I realize that his decision to stay is the domino that tips the rest of the board into absolute chaos. Because he stays, he is forced into a corner. He has to give Dante and Lulu the one piece of information they have been desperately begging for, the exact location of Rocco and Britt. He tells them about Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. It is a profound moment of surrender, a crack in the armor of a man who has played the game way too long. But in handing over that specific location, he doesn't just give terrified parents a map, he potentially hands a death sentence to the very people he is trying to protect. We are watching a man try to do the right thing, only to set a catastrophic chain of events into motion. This leads us to follow the thread down to the sweltering, oppressive heat of the Caribbean. Dante and Lulu, driven by that primal, blinding need to save their son, immediately pack their bags and rush to Tortola. You can feel the intense urgency in their every move, the desperate heartbeat of parents who know their child is in the company of a very sick woman. Britt's health is deteriorating rapidly. She has collapsed, leaving young Rocco terrified and alone, forced to make desperate phone calls for help in a foreign land. When Dante and Lulu finally arrive at that hidden safe house, they aren't met with tears of relief or warm embraces. They are met with Rocco's absolute, unbridled fury. He is angry, he is scared, and he knows something his parents haven't quite grasped yet. Rocco realizes that by coming to rescue him, Dante and Lulu have inadvertently painted a massive, glowing target on his and Britt's backs. They rushed in so fast, so recklessly, that they left a digital and physical trail behind them. And who is following that trail? Russ. The director is a predator, a man who thrives on the mistakes of desperate people. I keep coming back to the terrifying reality that his intelligence network is lighting up precisely because Dante and Lulu made a move. Britt is in extreme danger right now. She is weak, vulnerable, and completely exposed to the elements. If Ross finds that hideout in Tortola, it won't be a rescue mission anymore. It will be a quiet execution. The parents brought the monster right to the doorstep. But while the physical danger escalates in the islands, there is a shadow beneath the story back home. It is not the story everyone is looking at on the front pages. Everyone sees Willow drowning in a sea of chaos. They see Jens, a dangerous and reckless man, showing up at her house uninvited, aggressively harassing her, delivering dark orders, and announcing that they have unfinished business. That is the loud, visible threat that everyone is meant to look at. But the real shadow, the unseen emotional conflict, is happening right under her nose. Willow is suddenly officially accused of a horrific crime, the hit and run that nearly destroyed Jordan and Curtis. The evidence is incredibly damning. Her black vehicle, the GPS data, everything points directly to her guilt. It doesn't seem accidental that this fabricated evidence surfaced exactly when Willow was at her most psychologically vulnerable. And it isn't. The mastermind behind this elaborate framing isn't a hardened cartel boss or a seasoned criminal. It is Brooke Lynn, actively aided by Lucy. Brooke Lynn enlisted technical help to fabricate that GPS data, planning the vehicle perfectly at the scene. It is a stunningly vindictive move, born out of deep jealousy, fear, and a desperate need to protect her own family's legacy from a perceived threat. But she has made a fatal miscalculation in her grand design. She assumed she could just sit back in the shadows and watch Willow's life implode. She completely forgot about the relentless nature of her own husband. Harrison is a dedicated detective to his very core. When Willow, panicked and desperate, begs him for help to clear her tarnished name, he does what he does best. He pulls the thread. He begins to meticulously investigate the fabricated evidence. He traces the digital footprints, the strange anomalies in the GPS data, and the timeline of the night. And as he follows that thread, it leads him directly back to his own living room. Imagine the devastating realization settling over him in the dark. He is trying to save an innocent woman, only to discover that the villain of the story is the woman he shares a bed with. The betrayal is absolute and shattering. When Brooke Lynn is finally cornered, when she is forced to confess to the framing and taking responsibility for leaving the accident scene, you can feel the entire foundation of their marriage cracking apart. Maybe there's another layer here. What if we're missing something fundamental about how all these people are being silently manipulated from above? Look at Ava. She is currently being dragged into the deep end by forces she cannot possibly control. Ethan tries to pull his cunning tricks, but it is Sunny who applies the real suffocating pressure. Sunny forces Ava to attend a highly dangerous and secretive meeting. He is using her as a tool. Ava is naturally stubborn. She tries to bargain. She tries to demand a worthwhile offer before moving an inch. But you do not bargain with Sunny when he is setting a lethal trap for a man like Jens. Ava is caught in the crossfire, a disposable pawn in a much larger, much darker game of chess that is being played across the city. I keep wondering whether these seemingly isolated incidents, Willow being framed, Ava being trapped, Dante rushing blindly to Tortola, are all just symptoms of a much larger infection spreading through the streets. An infection that started at the very top of the intelligence community. Over in Geneva, Valentine is sitting in a highly secure, sterile room with Z, the elusive head of the agency. Valentine is terrified of being locked away indefinitely, but he is laying all his remaining cards on the table. He is exposing Ross as a dirty double agent, a man working directly with Jens. Valentine is telling the whole evil story, revealing that the man tasked with protecting the world is actually the one trying to burn it down for profit. And while Valentine is negotiating his freedom with Z, Anna is sitting in a quiet, isolated treatment facility in France. She is having a private, intense meeting with her doctor, preparing to finally be discharged. But Anna knows that the mental health struggles she faced were not just a random breakdown. They were the direct result of severe psychological manipulation by Ross and the fake theatrics of Caesar. Anna is making a highly risky decision right now. She is stepping out of the safety of that clinic and preparing to walk back into the line of fire for a new mission. It is possible that her impending return will be the catalyst that finally breaks the grip of corruption on the city. But the adults aren't the only ones fighting this invisible war. This is exactly where the growing tension really starts to suffocate you. Danny and Charlotte, two kids who have seen way too much darkness for their age, are teaming up in the shadows. They are actively plotting to sabotage the grand plan that Ross has put into motion. Think about the sheer terror of that concept for a moment. Two teenagers, armed with nothing but their sharp wits and their fierce loyalty to their families, are trying to outsmart a highly trained, lethal double agent. They are bringing bad news directly to his doorstep, and if they make even a single mistake, the consequences will be utterly fatal. You can feel the danger approaching with every quiet step they take. All of this unbearable tension is funneling directly toward the dark waters surrounding Spoon Island. The massive stone fortress stands in the middle of the harbor, holding the most dangerous secret of all, the cold fusion prototype. Ross knows his time is rapidly running out. He knows Valentine is talking to Z in Europe. He knows the walls are closing in on his operation. So, he prepares to make his final, desperate move. He is aggressively packing up all the cold fusion information, preparing to escape the island and vanish into the wind with a technology that could either change the world or completely destroy it. He thinks he has won the game. But his path is not clear. I can't shake the feeling that the climax of this entire nightmare won't be decided by the intelligence agencies or the local police, or even the mob bosses. It might be decided by Jocelyn. She is trapped inside that damp castle, angry, cornered, and entirely unpredictable. She is standing directly in the escape route that Ross desperately needs to take. This isn't just a simple hostage situation anymore. This is a lethal standoff waiting to happen. Jocelyn has the potential to stop him, to end his life before he can walk out of those heavy stone doors. The air in that castle is thick with the promise of violence. Carly and Z are reportedly moving into position to handle the fallout, but they are miles away. Jocelyn is right there, staring into the eyes of a cornered killer. As we look at all these moving pieces, something feels unfinished. There is no neat bow tying this together yet. We are left standing in the dark, watching the shadows stretch across the floorboards. Harrison is staring at his wife, realizing he doesn't know her at all. Dante and Lulu are standing in a sweltering room in Tortola, praying that the door doesn't get kicked down. Anna is boarding a plane with a massive target painted on her back. And Jocelyn is holding her breath in the damp halls of the island fortress, waiting for a killer to make his move. The story isn't over. The trap hasn't fully sprung. We are just waiting for the first drop of blood to hit the floor.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.